Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be talking about the 2025 short film, Jane Austen's period drama. We're going to share a little bit about why we're excited to talk about this film, especially much today. But first, a quick summary of Jane Austen's period drama.
Yes. England, 1813. In the middle of a long-awaited marriage proposal, Miss Estrogenia Talbot gets her period. Her suitor, Mr. Dickley, mistakes the blood for an injury, and it soon becomes clear that his extensive education has missed a spot.
Oh. Wow. Good job to the summer writers. That was good.
It was good.
And
Going
if you
a whole
love
journey.
that summary, you will love this short film because there's so much more of that juicy goodness in this short film. So a little bit about this short film. It was co-written and directed by the duo Julia Axe and Steve Pinder. They have been just collaborators for years. It's fun seeing their minds meld together. They joke that one of them and they each other walked out of each other's brains. This short film is shortlisted right now for Best Live Action Short Film at the Oscars. So it's one of 15 that are in consideration for this year's Oscar nominees in this category. So it's very exciting that this is getting all of the laughs and the joy and the mission that it's looking to accomplish. And there's just so many important themes in here that I think we are going to dive into, but it's also just an incredibly fun time. Like, I don't remember seeing humor and comedy done so sharply and like so efficiently in a while, and had just like such a whimsical time and a playful time with this film. So it's very exciting to see people really resonate and have that fun that Jane Austen's period drama is looking to have with you. But we're excited to talk about this film and share a little bit more about it with our thoughts today. But Sarah, we also have some exciting content coming out very soon, I think in a day here, that's specific to this film as well.
Yes, tomorrow watch this feed because we actually were able to interview Julia and Steve, and that was just such a fun conversation to be able to kind of like peek behind the curtain, learn a little bit more about them as not just like filmmakers, but as creatives and you know, kind of what got them on this journey, but then also getting into some of the nitty-gritty details about how this film came to life and kind of their what they were hoping to achieve with this film. So it was such a great conversation, and you'll be able to hear that tomorrow. But you know, we weren't able to gush about the film properly in that interview. So we're just taking a few minutes today to just go all in on this film because it is so good. It's so much fun. I remember when we first heard about this and were able to watch it, I turned it on and I was like, I don't know what journey we're about to go on. And it was like a minute into the film, I had to pause it and like text Jen and be like, oh my gosh, this movie is so much fun. We have to review this. Within the first minute, I was already laughing and having a great time. So this is such a great film. I'm so excited that we get to dive into it deeply today.
Yeah, it was such a joy getting to talk to the two of them. I think it was very exciting personally just to see how much they embody that lightness, that playfulness, the light-filled joy that they like show up in life in is infectious, and it was felt in our interview with them, and all of that same spirit and energy and just joy was fully in the short film as well. So it was neat to see them really embody what the short film is also embodying as well, and also being kind of unafraid to be real about things, you know. Like I think there's an honesty that's also so refreshing in this film. So we're excited to dive in. And yeah, Sarah did text me before we got to actually like both fully watched the film, and I actually found it here, where she said, "I'm a minute into Jane Austen's period drama, and it's quite good and very funny." I'm excited to talk about some of these things in a single minute alone. So if that doesn't sell you on it, my gosh, dive fully into this film. There's so much more to than just that first minute, but we really get a fun surprise in the first minute, which is very exciting. All right, well, one sentence summaries for Jane Austen's period drama before, and then we can dive fully into talking about some of the specifics and details that we loved about this film. So, Sarah, what is your one sentence summary for Jane Austen's period drama?
My one sentence summary is honest communication is important, period.
Nice. Nice. Very good. My one sentence summary is finally a well executed satire that gushes with joy.
Does it gush or is it more of a, you have watched the film, you know what that joke is?
Oh, so good. Okay. So tell me your thoughts about Jane Austen's period drama. What are the things that stood out to you while watching this film, and maybe some of the things that also like have kind of lingered in your mind in the days and weeks after as well?
Yeah, I think, you already touched on it in your kind of like tee up to this conversation,
Mm.
but this film is just so funny. And I think comedy is just a really hard thing to do. And Jane Austen's period drama has so many different types of comedy all throughout it. And there really is, I feel like, something for everybody in this film. And so I was just impressed by the humor. And now, having watched it a couple of times, the way that it just gets funnier and funnier upon every rewatch. But there's also a depth to this film too. And I think that that is especially difficult to do. It's only like 15 minutes long, and
Mm.
to have you as the audience like laughing the entire time, and yet there's so much to think about and talk about and like kind of mull over after the film is over, I think is quite an impressive achievement for this film.
Yeah, absolutely. I am shocked at how sharp and on point, beat to beat, moment to moment, every tone, every joke hits. And it was really fascinating to actually hear Steve and Julia share about how much they so carefully crafted that to make sure that, and using their kind of comedic intuition to know what things need to dwell a little bit longer and have room to breathe, but then when does it become too bloated? And similarly, when does it become too lean? And it actually needs a little bit more in order for the emotions and the joke to really land fully. And I think all of that effort that they've put into the writing process to expand it, let it ebb and flow, and then do another rewrite and draw it down a little bit leaner, help them find this like perfect pitch balance of all of those emotional beats that are happening that really help move the film with this forward propulsion, but also moment to moment, beat to beat, like something funny is happening. It's sometimes subtle, it's sometimes obvious, but every little detail is working together. And I was so impressed at how well timed and how well crafted the humor is, because humor can be really hit or miss. And a lot of humor is either so bloated and big and they almost lean a little too heavily into it, or it's like, I don't know, it just strikes a different chord. And I don't know, something about this film and what Julie and Steve have put together is truly like nails it on the head every single beat. And I was shocked at how well constructed and perfect it is.
And I think part of that, at least for me, is just the juxtaposition of the entire premise. You're in this Jane Austen world, and they were so intentional to make it feel like you are watching a film about a Jane Austen novel. And yet, the way that the characters are communicating and the subject matter that they're talking about is so modern. And I think
Yeah.
that that juxtaposition, that marrying of this very classic literary style, this very like this subgenre of film with, discussing menstruation is just a funny combination. And
Mm,
so the way that those two things are paired, I think is really funny and lends itself to a lot of the comedic moments throughout, in addition to a lot of the like physical humor and like
mhm.
the puns and like the kind of the witty writing too. But I just think the premise is funny and then it just builds from there.
Especially because so much of Jane Austen's world and the language is so beautiful. It's so ornate. It is so lush, the scenery and the language. But they're using words that we reserve for like bodily functions, and the contrast of seeing those words spoken in an environment that we as an audience are trained to expect because we are familiar with her text and it is in the pop culture, to expect beauty, and we get something else. Like inherently the shock and the surprise and the silliness of that is in and of itself so fun. And it was really fascinating to hear Julie and Steve talk about how they cast actors that are not comedic actors traditionally in their craft and are tend to be more serious drama actors. Their cinematographer as well, they've talked about how he hasn't had experience with comedy, but that actually works better for what they're trying to accomplish with the style of humor and the ingredients that need to work together, because there's a seriousness that is necessary for the satire to work. It's a ridiculous premise, but our characters believe that is a very serious matter, and I think landing those tonal contrasts, it really does work so well.
Yeah, they really sold out on like making this feel like a Jane Austen film. Like in the first few minutes you see this like beautiful green landscape that they're talking, and you know, it feels like you have stepped into a Jane Austen drama, and then the story goes somewhere else, which is just such a fun journey to go on with these characters.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that I found really fascinating and important and kind of reflective of this topic specifically is how we see the sisters interacting with each other. And it's specifically the older sister who kind of out of care and affection for her younger sister, Essie, is wanting her to keep quiet. And I thought that was so fascinating because she is aligning to the rules of the society that exists, which makes sense, you know, like, gosh, please don't talk about your period cramps because you need to marry this man because it is your future, you know. But seeing the way that that like we as a community enforce and uphold these values and these unspoken rules ourselves is an interesting aspect. Like, we can choose to break out of those together, or we can also choose to contribute to upholding them together and keeping silent about the things that need to be spoken about. And so I think that is a fascinating dynamic that's in this. It's not necessarily the men of this world or the older generation that are upholding and trying to keep everyone quiet about this important bodily function, but it's actually people that are of the same generation too. But there's a deference for the established order because that's how things got done at that time, and the rules of the world and society of that time. But that collective choice for us to break free is is the catharsis, is us earning and collectively walking into greater freedom, more realness, more honesty together, that everybody actually wins too. So I thought those sister dynamics are actually essential to a lot of the drama and the tension of the film, but also, gosh, that's quite reflective of the society that we live in and how we make progress together to break free and talk about our periods.
Well, and I love that this is set in, you know, the Jane Austen period because, you know, obviously it makes for a very funny moment as we talked about, but I think it also goes a long way in highlighting just we haven't come as far as maybe we would think, cuz it's still hard to talk about periods and menstruation, and it's not a normal thing for a lot of people. And so I love that, you know, we're seeing them in the 1800s having a hard time talking about this very normal bodily function that half of the globe experiences once a month. And it feels so uncomfortable for them. But then we look at our society today and go, well, it's still uncomfortable for us to talk about too. So I think it's so brilliant because it's very funny and it's very hard hitting about, okay, we are also trapped in this society where we're not supposed to talk about these things. And there's a lot that people don't know about menstruation either that is important to talk about. So I think it's just a really good balance of, it's a very funny movie, but there's so much depth beneath the surface too.
Yeah, yeah, and even though we would think that, gosh, that makes sense that in Jane Austen's Regency era, they didn't know about these things, but surely we're doing a better job now. And then you take a closer look and you're like, I don't think it's too far off and that different. Not as much as we think it is. I also love how there's these emotional beats that are pointing us as the audience to the like incredible miracle that like our human bodies are. There's a moment where a character is describing all of the bodily functions that are happening, and then she goes, it's actually like quite remarkable. And it's this moment of like, yeah, it is. It's incredible that our bodies are so resilient and they can produce life, and like I think there's so many of these other commentary pieces that Julia and Steve have woven into the film, and they add to the tonal changes and the emotional beats of moment to moment. They add a lot of humor, but they're also just quite true, like that awe of our human bodies being able to do some incredible things should be celebrated, and it is remarkable. And why do we not talk about these things? Because it's quite fascinating too. So the curiosity of Mr. Dickley is, I think, such a hopeful portrayal of the like primary male character in this film, and his sheer curiosity of like, well, how does it all work now? Like, I want to know. I think is also an important model for the proper reaction to our human bodies. They do some incredible things. So let's study them. Let's talk about them.
I also love that it's contrasted with the dad who, as soon as they start talking about periods, he nopes out of there so quickly
Yeah,
and he just goes
true.
into his study. And I love that we see these two different reactions from these two different men. And especially
Mm,
because the dad has three daughters too. I think it's very fascinating that he removes himself so quickly from that situation. And anytime he starts to like come out and there's like women's business going on, he just goes right back into the room. And so I think that provides a helpful contrast between him and Mr. Dickley as well. It makes for some great
mm.
comedic moments, but I think character wise, that's an important contrast that the film really highlights.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The different reactions to this thing that we all freeze up about. We also see the youngest sister who actually doesn't know what to think. She's kind of representing that like young child like figure that just like maybe doesn't know yet, and is listening to and absorbing everything that she's been being told. So if she's taught about what is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Should we not talk about it? Should we not talk about it? She's such a sponge. And I think that's so indicative of like, especially our formative years when we're going through puberty and all of our bodies are changing. We don't know how to react, and we will reflect and model the things that we see. So if our mothers or our fathers are reacting this way, okay, I guess this is a thing to be feared, or this is a thing to not speak of, or by all means, let's be honest about it. And so she is an interesting character because you see her constantly vacillating between all of the different reactions, and adopting and kind of trying on and saying, okay, so we are doing this thing. No, no, we're not now. Okay. And she's constantly watching everybody in her environment. It was really notable to me that Julie and Steve in the interview shared about how they intentionally created some of these characters. One, they're very different reactions, so it's fun and interesting to watch them collide with each other. But two, everyone can see themselves in some of these characters and the spectrum of reactions. And so there's a feeling of resonance with someone in here of like, you either don't know what to think, you do know what to think, and you're trying to get out of there as fast as possible. You're curious, or you're like, we don't speak of these things because it might affect the rest of the dynamic. That full spectrum of reactions all exist here. And I think that's beautiful too, because that is very real and there's something in there for everyone.
Yeah, and no one is vilified, nobody is mocked, you know, even, Mr. Dickley, he isn't made fun of for not understanding what's going
Yeah.
on, and I think that that's really brilliant that this all of these characters are just on the journey and know as much as they know, they're reacting in a way that feels very human and very real, but nobody is vilified, nobody is mocked because we're all on a journey somewhere about how
Mhm.
comfortable we are talking about these different bodily functions that happen and that's okay.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. Any other last things about Jane Austen's period drama that we wanted to highlight, mention, make sure we give a shout out to before we wrap, and then we will just send you off into the interview with Julia and Steve on the feed in a hot second. But yeah, any other last things you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I just once again want to shout out the writing in this. It is so sharp, it is so funny. One of my favorite things in the film is the names of everybody is it's absolutely hilarious. And the further that you get into the film, the funnier the names get too. It's just exceptional writing. So it's so much fun. It's fun to watch multiple times because you catch more of those little things the second time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, the writing is top tier and the names are out of control. They're unhinged in the best way possible.
Oh, it's so good. And I know that Julie and Steve have mentioned they have so many more names that never made the cut, but more characters to be written, more larger than life personalities to see on the big screen one day. I want to give a shout out to the technical components. I think that they really are all working together to serve the emotional beats and the humor moment to moment. The editing is incredibly sharp and add to the jokes. The choice of set design and cinematography actually also add to the humor so much as well. Something that Julie and Steve talked about is being able to use the language of cinema for comedy in a more holistic way instead of just have the camera in there and do the sketch sequence. Like they really want to incorporate all of the filmmaking tools in the toolbox to serve every emotional beat and every comedic beat. So I think those actually really add to the vibrance and the colorfulness and the punchiness of the humor. And so I want to shout out the technical components because everything else is working together so well. The writing is so sharp, and actually, this comes to life in a more full way because it is done using all of the language of cinema blocks that we have, and they're actually being utilized quite effectively. So I think that's all working together so well too.
Yeah, this film looks great. Like
Yeah.
this isn't just like it doesn't feel like a sketch come to life. It feels like you're inhabiting this Jane Austen world. And so
Yeah.
the production design, the cinematography, everything is just top notch and really makes you feel immersed in this world. It's just fantastic. It's such a well-made film.
So good. Yes. We cannot rave about Jane Austen's period drama enough. It will make you laugh. And in a time where it seems like humor is so specialized to all of the individual flavors of humor that everyone's connecting differently with, it's just so exciting to see that Jane Austen's period drama is resonating with so many different kinds of people and people groups, different artistic backgrounds. Like everyone seems to just like show up and be on board for this film, and I think that's a testament to just the writing and the intentions and the craft that went into creating this film. So we can't wait for more people to see it. We only got to see it at home, so Sarah and I are both very excited to one day see this on a big screen in a packed theater and laugh with everybody like the entire runtime. So if you want to hear more about Julia and Steve's creative process, their creative backgrounds, which I think is really interesting, that fuel and have inspired so much of the film, definitely go listen to our interview with them coming out here in 24 hours. So we are excited to have you all hear more of their hearts and their intentions behind this. So in the meantime, we'll see you back here. Lots of stuff coming out on the feed here in the next coming weeks. We can't wait to see you back here soon. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune into your favorite shows. Drop us a rating review letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Movies and Us Pod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.